Well, we're so happy today to have Laura Klein on the phone. Laura is an eco-lifestyle expert, and she focuses on living green. She's the web mistress of LauraKleinGreenClub.com and, of course, also the founder of OrganicAuthority.com. Welcome, Laura, to Green is Good.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today.
Laura, you know, Mike and I were just talking a little bit in our intro about living organically and living green, and tell us a little bit what inspired you to get into the whole green revolution.
Well, oddly enough, I am a foodie. That's not really the odd part, but how I discovered it is kind of odd. I love to cook, and I went to culinary school. And in culinary school, I was always after what produced the best tasting end product. And they started educating us on the differences between organically grown foods and conventionally grown foods. And they also shared a really fine secret with us of, you know, the great foods behind the world's top chefs. And that was, you know, most of these chefs had been serving organic foods on their menus for years, but never bragged about it. And so I thought, you know, there's got to be something to this. And so I started doing my own taste tests. I started running around town, buying a conventional piece of beef and buying an organic piece of beef and, you know, comparing it in taste tests and buying an organic apple and buying a conventional apple and tomatoes. And I just went down the list, and I actually made it a lot of fun. I was cooking for my friends and my family, and we all came to the same conclusion as these fine chefs, that organic foods just simply present a superior product and they give you a better end-tasting product.
Well, Laura, you mentioned the taste testing, and you would compare yourself. When you did some of these taste tests, were they blind taste tests when you're asking your friends or your family, hey, here's one, here's the other. I'm not going to tell you anything more than just sample this one. Which do you like better?
Yeah, we did that.
Okay, all right.
Laura,
absolutely did.
So now, and you just used the three-letter F word, fun. So you mean going green, going organic can actually be fun?
Oh my gosh, can it ever? And it really improves the quality of your life. And, you know, I got to share with you, I was a huge skeptic, meaning I was not into the green stuff. I was not into the organic stuff. I thought it was for hippies, the birds, and the weirdos, to be clear.
Okay.
And so I was your skeptic. And then, so once I started discovering that organic foods are truly higher quality, I started investigating the science behind it. I thought, okay, well, why are organic foods so much higher quality, and why do they taste better? And once I started studying the science behind how organic foods are grown and how conventional foods are grown, I had a paradigm shift.
Got it.
And I really realized that we are poisoning the earth, humans, animals, plants, and everything else in between. And there was simply no going back for me.
So when did you actually, you not only had that epiphany, but then you started two websites. So when did you start LauraKleinGreenClub.com and OrganicAuthority.com? And what do they both represent, and why should our listeners go to those sites? What do they actually do?
Okay, well, I launched OrganicAuthority.com in late 2004, and what it is and what it was and still is today is it was a website about great tasting food that happened to be organic. And I really wanted to educate the public and let the world know, you know, what's really going on with our food supply, because consuming chemicals every day through our foods is simply not healthy for us. Yeah.
So that's an informational site. OrganicAuthority.com is a great informational site for people who want to buy organically and want to see a compare and contrast.
Right.
Got it.
Yep. And Laura Klein's Green Club is based upon a home consultation service that I developed, because after I got into, you know, really uncovering what is truly in our food supply and how our foods are grown, I started asking more questions. Okay, well, what's in my cleaning products I'm bringing home? What's in my personal care products? You know, what's in the couch, you know, in my house? What's in the new carpet that I'm bringing in my home and the paints and everything else? And what ended up happening is I developed a healthy home consultation service. And I wanted to take it to a wider audience than just me doing it one-on-one in somebody's home. And so what I decided to do is put it in web form, and that was the inspiration behind Laura Klein's GreenClub.com.
And when did you do that? What year was that?
We launched that this year. It was like March. No, it was really more like April 09. So this is very new.
So April 09, you're leveraging the power of technology and the internet to democratize information. How did the launch go, and what's the response been to your website?
The launch has gone really well. People are really thrilled to have this type of information, and we break it down into really simple steps. We give them a 90 days to going green guide. I give them all of my product recommendations because we get tons of questions on, which products do you recommend? Which is the best one? Because, let's face it, everyone's busy. Nobody really has a lot of time. They're either a parent, an executive, a mom, dad, sister, brother. And people, frankly, just don't have a lot of time. So I wanted to create a resource that broke it down into a simple format and made it very easy to do.
So Mike and his wife, Marina, just bought a house here in Fresno. So is this the site for them to go to see how they can greenify their house?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So it's for new home buyers, people who already exist in their dwellings who want to live more green. Is it for everybody, you would say, almost?
Almost. Anyone who wants to create a green, healthy home can absolutely use this website. What I've found is that a lot of stage of lifers come to this website. Those are people who have just gotten married, they've just had a baby, or they're retiring and they want to improve the overall quality of their health and life.
Well, that sounds amazing. So, you already how are you getting the word out on this?
We are leveraging the internet. We're doing a lot of social media stuff and online advertising, and we really want to, leverage social media. Bottom line, we're really heavily getting into it.
So you're Facebook, Twittering, you're doing the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I just discovered another one today. It's like Spring It or something. I've got to look it up. But anyway, the power that social media has is truly extraordinary.
And is it just you, or do you have partners in this, or do you have employees, or is it just Laura Klein?
My husband is my partner, and I also have a few employees that work with me. There's no way I could do all of this on my own.
What's your husband's name? Let's give him a shout out.
John Klein.
John Klein. Okay, great.
Well, what's amazing about all this too, Laura, you and John you're doing the heavy lifting, because what makes so much sense is, as we talked at the top, given the choice, when people have the option and you can make it simpler for them to make a greener, more sustainable choice, most people get that. I mean, that's kind of one of those no-brainers, but it's who's got the time, because you're talking about people that have careers, have families, juggling all this, and it seems the faster our world is spinning, the less time we have to do the right thing, and you have made this so doable.
Well, thank you so much. That's really my intention, and I feel that everyone needs to become an empowered consumer, because really what it comes down to is just simply making different choices when you go to the grocery store, or you buy consumer products, or whatever it may be. So it really comes down to simple education.
Well, we know that simple education is on LauraKleinGreenClub.com. We're going to now go to a break, and when you come back, listen to Laura give a great offer to all our listeners, so now they can become greener and healthier and live a green is good lifestyle.
If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good, and we have Laura Klein on the phone. And Laura, you're so inspirational to both Mike and I and all our listeners, talking about your two great websites, OrganicAuthority.com and LauraKleinGreenClub.com. Why don't you tell our listeners now, as we've come back from the commercial, about what is the special offer that you're making to everybody out there that hears this show if they join the LauraKleinGreenClub.com?
Well, if you go to LauraKleinGreenClub.com /good, you can sign up there for $1. and I will give you a 1-hour free consult over the phone. And plus, you'll get over $200 in free gifts and goodies and bonuses that are yours to keep. You don't have to give anything back, and it's really a great way to get going.
Mike, does that sound like the best offer we've ever had on the show?
Well, let me think. Okay, $1. What can you get? Well, in the snack machine, you can get a bunch of stuff with preservatives in it. Maybe find a cup of coffee someplace. But let's see. An hour consultation with Laura Klein to help you get started on a greener, more sustainable way of living, which would improve your health, save the planet, save you some money. Oh, and $200 worth of goods and coupon. I'm thinking this is a no-brainer.
And a 1-hour consult.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, this is like, Laura, that's a very generous gift, and we thank you for making that for all of our listeners. That's really a great way to give them a window to become part of the solution on the green revolution. So thank you for that. Thank you very much. Hey, so why don't you tell us right now, 2004 you started Organic Authority, 2009 LauraKleinGreenClub.com. How many subscribers do you have to both these, and what's your goal when you and John call it a day? And that's probably in the wee hours of the night. What do you guys, what's your dream? How many subscribers do you want on both of these sites, and how far are you along in that dream?
Well, we've got on OrganicAuthority.com, we've got over 30,000 uniques per month. My goal is to really grow that exponentially. Over the past few years, it started out as a hobby, and it's really become a full-time job now between Organic Authority and Laura Klein Green Club. So we want to get into the millions of uniques on Organic Authority. And then with Laura Klein Green Club, we want to push that into the thousands, because we want to help as many people as possible to go green easily and affordably. We bust through the myth that going green is expensive and hard to do, and you have to give up your personal sense of style. It just isn't true.
Gotcha. So you're saying green is not only good for your business bottom line or your household bottom line, but truly going green isn't more expensive anymore. It's not. You don't have to write a bigger check.
Right, absolutely. There are more expensive products on the market that happen to be green, but if you do it smart and you shop smart and you use the tools that we give you at LauraKleinsGreenClub.com, you will actually reduce your monthly expenses.
Well, that's what most consumers do anyway, whether they're trying to embrace a greener, a more sustainable lifestyle or not. Smart shoppers will buy and compare and do the research to get the best deal. So what you're doing is you've done all the heavy lifting to make it possible to do that in a sustainable way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So now, a typical user, Mike signs up today, I sign up today for the Green Club. Just give us a little taste. Give our listeners a little taste of what they get by joining the Green Club.
Well, when you join the Green Club, first, you want to set up your 1-hour phone consult with me right away. So I can help you, find out where you are in terms of going green in your life and find out really what the most important steps are for you to take right now. Because, if somebody has children, they've got, there are things that are really more of a priority than for somebody who's maybe single or their husband and wife, because children actually have a higher, when they're exposed to toxic chemicals, they can have more of a serious effect on their small bodies than, a large adult. So I really want to help them assess where they're at, where they want to go, and really narrow it down for them. Because a lot of times people say, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. Where do I begin? Where do I start? And da, 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 da. Well, I can help you get out of overwhelm, simplify the process, and get you going right away. So
wait a second. So it's not only buying wonderful organic food, but it's also about how to buy greener carpet and how to buy non-VOC paint for the house and all that other kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's very simple. I break it down into very simple, easy shopping tips.
So you're a one-stop shop for greening your life.
Yes.
Got it. So where does someone begin? Like what, besides joining your green club, where do our listeners begin? Everyone wants to know, how do they put one foot in front of the other and start this whole process? Besides joining your green club, what's your high level pearl of wisdom to motivate our listeners to begin today?
Well, we'll start with the easiest place to begin, and this is exactly how I began. And then what I discovered as I started teaching people how to do this is the most natural place for everyone to really begin, and it's to start with your food. Because food is really one of the most powerful healing tools we have on the earth. You know, America is really suffering from a huge obesity epidemic and health crisis. And if we all just added more organic foods to our diet, you might lose a few pounds, you might double or even triple your energy. It's really quite extraordinary what happens when people just start adding organic foods to their diet, because what ends up happening is those organic foods start crowding out all of the other junky foods. And it's really such a simple way to begin. And once you start seeing those results and you start feeling better and you start looking better, you get inspired then to clean up every area of your life. And that includes your cleaning products, your personal care products, and we can go on from there.
And like you said, being green is important not only for just everyday folks, but if they have children, perhaps the level of interest should even be higher because of the effects that toxic chemicals could have on children, because it is a greater effect on them. How about people with pets?
Oh, pets are so important, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you for mentioning that. You know, the Environmental Working Group, which is a consumer advocacy group that studies a lot of science, and they put out a lot of reports on you know, this type of stuff and toxic chemicals in the home and personal care products and so forth. And what they did is they did a body burden study on our animals. They've also done them on adults and young children. But what they found is that dogs' their body burden or their chemical load that they're carrying within their bodies is something like 40 to 50% higher than humans. And for cats, it's even higher. Cats carry 96% more chemicals in their body than humans do.
Now, Laura, what does that mean? I mean, break it down for us. Is when they're carrying this much more or these many more chemicals in their body, is that chemicals that have been introduced by humans, or is it naturally occurring chemicals within their body?
Well, it's chemicals that have been introduced to their body through just everyday living. It's through the food they eat. It's through the cleaners that people use to keep their homes clean,
Gotcha.
By the way. It's through the pesticides that people are spraying their lawns and their gardens with. You know, think about your dog and your children for a moment. When they go out into your yard, they are rolling in the grass. Dogs are eating the grass.
Sure.
Playing in the dirt. They're breathing it all in, which is actually very healthy for kids to do. You want kids to do this because it actually exercises and boosts their immune system.
Right.
However, but what you don't want to do is spray all these chemicals around so they're absorbing the chemicals when they're out there playing.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because when we started talking earlier, I was thinking about pest control. For one thing, when you're talking about the kids, I mean, here in the Valley, where John and I are recording and speaking to you from, there's a huge black widow problem. I mean, there are so many natural pests, and you want to protect your children, you know, from unseen dangers. Black widows like to hide. So, okay, you take care of the black widows, but at what cost? I mean, what pesticides are you introducing that could possibly harm your children or your pets?
It's so true. I mean, the cancer rates in dogs is something ridiculous now. Like 40% of all dogs are dying from cancer. I mean,
wow.
Something is really wrong. And cats, the diseases that they're developing too, like they have really high incidences of thyroid misfunction, and a lot of it goes back to the chemicals that these pets are exposed to on a daily basis. And you have to remember, you know, dogs and cats, they get the lowest quality food in the food chain. Mm-hmm. And what I really recommend people to do, start reaching out to holistic vets and asking them, okay, what natural and organic foods, preferably raw, Now, I'm not a raw food eater, but I do eat raw foods, but I'm not exclusively a raw food eater. But the reason why I say raw is because our dogs and our cats get such nutritionally deficient food. Their bodies are starving for nutritionally dense food to help build their immune systems and fight off things like cancer.
And there is also organic pet food now, right?
Yes.
So that's part of your service. You would also alert people who sign up to your club, Green Club, to that to solutions for those problems also, I take it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's one of the top questions that we get from our readers. What can I do for my pets? And here's another simple tip, too, is, a lot of our pets' toys, they're made from plastics. And a lot of these plastics, they're made from PVC, which is polyvinyl chloride, which is not a healthy plastic and can actually be very toxic. So I really recommend that people actually start cleaning up their toys, too, and going for more natural toys.
I want to go back to what Mike just brought up about the black widows and pests. I understand there's even pesticide companies now that use non-toxic chemicals to kill to kill pests now. So you could actually get green pest companies to come to your house. Are you familiar, and do you recommend those too?
Yes, absolutely. I would. One thing I really advocate is get to know your source. So what I would do is I would start asking questions, because there are some really great companies out there that are using products like orange oil to repel pests. So if they're using, something like orange oil or cedar oil that's truly all natural and isn't cut with synthetic toxic chemicals, then that could be a really good solution for you.
So if our listeners sign up for LauraKleinGreenClub.com or OrganicAuthority.com, do they get a daily or weekly or monthly newsletter with these websites?
Yes, absolutely. With the Laura Klein Green Club, you will get a newsletter from me for 90 days. And those are just full of, that's my 90 days to going green guide. And it's just simple, bite-sized pieces of what you can do every day to go green.
Well, why don't you give a little teaser? I've been on Organic Authority, and I've seen some of your amazing, food tidbits that are just so helpful that I never even heard of. Why don't you give like a top 5 organic food tidbits to our listeners so they get inspired to buy organically and also sign up for your great websites?
Sure, absolutely. Number one, we already kind of touched on this a little bit briefly, but I will expand upon it. Start to get to know the source of the food you buy, because when we start transitioning our food over to organic foods, some of the certified organic food products, yes, can get expensive. However, there are a lot of, products that are coming on the market. Also, there's a lot of farmers markets in your local areas where the farmers grow organically, but they don't have the organic certification. Right. So get to know your source. Right. Start asking questions to the farmers. When you grow your vegetables and fruits, do you use any herbicides, pesticides, chemical fertilizers? To grow your foods. That's a great way to save.
And we have 2 minutes left, so give us just 2 more so we could leave our listeners with 2 great pearls of wisdom and inspire them to sign up for your websites.
Okay. Prioritize your shopping list. Start buying the foods that you eat the most organic. So if it's dairy, if it's, watermelon or strawberries, start adding those things organic.
That's great.
Yeah. Start buying less junky foods and soda and prepackaged foods, and start adding more organic foods to your shopping cart. If you like Oreos, why not reach for the organic Oreos? They're pretty darn good.
Oh, got it. I got it. And what else? Give us one more.
Avoid ready-made foods. Those can get really expensive. If you already buy a pre-cooked chicken, why not buy a whole chicken and cook it yourself in the oven, roast it on 400 degrees for an hour until it's done, and that's going to save you money. You can take this chicken to lunch, you can have it for leftovers, and that's going to put more green back in your bank account.
Well, Laura, you are really inspirational. Mike and I are just sitting here, and we're just enjoying this whole conversation, as I am am sure our listeners are. And remember, listeners, if you go to LauraKleinGreenClub.com and sign up for $1, you'll get a free 1-hour consultation with Laura herself, plus gifts that are valued over $200. That and OrganicAuthority.com. Laura Klein, thank you for coming on our show today, and you are living proof that green is good.